Good morning, everyone. Afternoon, by the time you get it. May 4th, 2019. I'm here at Zero Hedge. Behold the breathtaking weakness of the empire. And there's some names in here that I can't pronounce, and I'm not even going to try because, well, I look like an asshole doing so. But I haven't really covered too much of Venezuela, and I should because it's in our backyard. And the first paragraph talks about how the United States empire suffered defeats in Afghanistan and Iraq, and how they also lost control of Libya, and that they failed in their bullying of North Korea. And the United States never stood a chance to bully North Korea into submission, never mind invading it or regime changing it. Syria was much weaker, but there Russia and Iran, along with Hezbollah, did a great job of repelling all the Anglo-Zionist attacks, both politically and militarily. But what about Venezuela? There's no Hezbollah or Iran backing Maduro there. And I can't pronounce the name of the dude who's trying to regime change them, so we'll call him wannabe president. Wannabe puppet president. So, and Venezuela is pretty far away from Russia to allow her to do what she did in Syria. And they point out that Venezuela is in our proverbial backyard and surrounded by hostile puppet regimes. And yet tonight, it appears that U.S. puppet wannabe president has failed in his coup attempt. And Moon of Alabama did a great job covering the events of that day. There's links to this Moon of Alabama's article in this article. But the thing that amazes this author, anyway, the most tonight is truly breathtakingly pathetic weakness of the clowns who launched this latest failed operation. And it was Pomeo and Mr. MAGA. Let's begin with Pomeo. According to him, the coup failed because of Russia. What else is new? Not only that, but Maduro had already decided to run to Cuba, but then the Russians stopped him. I wonder how that happened. I mean, look at that piece of shit, man. The Secretary of State claimed the embattled Venezuelan leader was preparing to leave for Cuba, but was talked out of it by Russia. Really? Let's take a look at what the dialogue may have looked like. Or, if that's true, if he was going to run to Cuba, the conversation must have gone something like this. Putin: Mr. Maduro, you don't need to worry about the thing. Just do what we tell you and stay put. Maduro: But my people hate me. They all turned against me. The military is behind the coup. Putin: No. It's all under control. Just stay put. Maduro: But the mob will lynch me if I stay. Putin: No worries. Nobody will touch you. Does that dialogue look credible to you? I really fucking hope not. I think that anybody with a slight bit of intelligence ought to realize that Maduro's decision to stay in place could have been based on one of two possible considerations. Number one, the coup has failed and Maduro is safe, or number 2, the coup is successful and Maduro will stay and fight until his last breath. But tonight, Maduro is safe in Caracas, and the coup plotters are on the run. The truth is that the only loser and imbecile, the truth is that only a loser and imbecile like Pomeo could come up with such a lame excuse in a desperate attempt to cover his ass, and blame his failure on the neocon's favorite scapegoat, Russia. Now let's check out what his boss had to say. Trump does not blame Russia. Instead, he blames Cuba. If Cuban troops and militia do not immediately cease military and other operations for the purpose of causing death and destruction to the Constitution of Venezuela, a full and complete, well, we know the rest, right? Here's the thing. Who the fuck is this dude to talk about anyone's constitution being destroyed when he has failed to restore ours? Embargo, together with the highest level of sanctions, will be perfect on the island of Cuba. Hopefully, all Cuban soldiers will promptly and peacefully return to their island. You mean like ours? I don't know what kind of silly scenario Mr. MAGA ran in his head to come up with the Cubans did it, but that is even more ridiculous than the Russians did it. Reading this tweet, one could get the impression that the Cubans launched a full-scale military attack and that they orchestrated a brutal crackdown on the Venezuelan people. And of course, this did not happen. In the real world, however, Cuba did nothing of the sort. But really, who cares, right? In the Empire of Illusions, facts don't matter. At least to the leaders of the Anglo-Zionist Empire, who continue to believe that only spin matters. In the case of Venezuela, spin alone failed. So what's next? According to the typical scenario revealed to us by John Perkins, the next step should be a full-scale U.S. invasion. Yes, he is right. That would be what the empire would have done in its heyday. But nowadays? Check out this interesting news snippet. Erik Prince wants Blackwater to send 5,000 mercenaries to Venezuela. Does anybody know why and how these clowns came up with the 5,000 figure? First Bolton, now Prince. Do they really think that this is enough? The point isn't whether or not Prince will ever get to send mercenaries to Venezuela or whether the Trump administration is inclined to accept this offer. The point is that Prince would have never made this offer in the first place if the U.S. military was up to the task. It is not, and Prince knows that very well. Which is one of the reasons why the United Nations and your local police will be used to do gun confiscation and drag people off to internment camps. The military stands by the constitutional government of Venezuela. As for Maduro, he seems to have the support not only of a majority of his people, but of the Venezuelan armed forces. As for the armed forces, they are clearly enjoying the support of the people. And this is a very, very bad combination for any empire, and here's why. Yes, Venezuela has immense problems, and yes, both Chavez and Maduro have made mistakes. But this is not about Chavez or Maduro. This is about the rule of law inside and outside of Venezuela. This is about the people of Venezuela, even the suffering ones, not willing to renounce the sovereignty of their country. Yes, Chavez did not solve all of Venezuela's problems, but to deliver the country to the empire would mean crushing any hope of true, real people power. The Venezuelan people apparently have no illusions about their Yankee neighbors, and they don't want the empire-style democracy to turn Venezuela into the next Libya. I should never say never, and God only knows what tomorrow will bring. But my gut feeling is that the empire injected itself into Venezuela just enough to trigger an immune reaction, like a vaccine, but not enough to infect Venezuela with a toxin powerful enough to kill it. In the meantime, U.S. aircraft carriers are in the Mediterranean trying to scare Russia, Syria, and Iran all at the same time. I can just imagine the disgusted contempt with which this latest saber-rattling with outdated hardware is received in Moscow, Damascus, or Tehran. Even Hezbollah remains utterly unimpressed. The truth is that the only people who have not come to the realization that the empire is broken and defeated are the rulers of the neocon deep state and those who still watch the legacy Zio media. But now everyone else has realized how utterly impotent the empire has become. And by the way, when an empire becomes impotent in other nations, tyranny comes home to roost. Conclusion. The empire only appears to be strong. In reality, it is weak, confused, clueless, and most importantly, run by a sad gang of incompetent thugs who think that they can scare everybody into submission in spite of not having won a single significant war since 1945. The inability to break the will of the people of Venezuela is the only latest symptom of this mind-boggling weakness. So, God only knows what's going to happen with this. But the people who want border security, you got to realize that a lot of these people, the people from Syria and other parts of the world, they're coming here because they have nowhere else to go. That's not to say that it's a good thing, but, our military, our government bombed their countries to the Stone Age, essentially. And what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the United States is going to get away with doing these things indefinitely? I hope you don't, because that's just not reality. I mean, the Bolsheviks didn't get away with what they are doing indefinitely. Stalin, none of them. So these guys are no different. They are humans. They bleed. They die. And unfortunately, they're going to bring everyone else in this country down with them. Anyway, thought I would share this with you. I hope all of you have a good day. I have one more from Paul Craig Roberts. here shortly. Till next time, kill the state, live free.